Hey everyone, welcome to our latest Trade of Black podcast. I am your host, Shad Dales. What a week it's been. Fundamental season, earnings season here in the cannabis industry. A lot of great reports. So let's keep the momentum going and jump into our next podcast, next earnings report as we welcome in MariMed and their CEO, John Levine, back to the podcast. John, good to see you. How are things?
Great to see you, Shad. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, busy week. I'm sure you're taking a lot of analyst calls and stuff, but good to see you. And I also want to bring in Chief Revenue Officer Ryan Crandall to talk about some of your wholesale numbers, your latest earnings reports. Ryan, good to see you. How are things?
Great. How are you?
I am good. We were talking before we started here. It was down at the draft. What'd you think before we got to start, John? What'd you think of your pick of your Pats? Got to ask that first.
I wish they didn't take a quarterback because they're not ready for one yet, but they had to take the person that was best picked for that spot.
Got to start somewhere. And I was telling you guys, you got to see that Tom Brady roast on Netflix. That was amazing. Knowing you're diehard Pats fans, you guys would appreciate that. But it is earnings season, and it's been a heck of a week. A lot of people reporting, including yourselves. But before we get into numbers, John, I want to begin with you. It's been a little over a week to digest and ponder, I guess, the Schedule 3 news from the DEA. That was big news, to say the least. I'd like to get your feedback and your take on what was announced last week, being the CEO of a multi-state operating cannabis company.
It's a historic issue, and it's exciting that this is happening. You know, what it's going to do for the industry overall, opening the doors for a lot more political changes to come. I think this is just the beginning of the changes that are necessary, not just for our company, but for the whole cannabis industry.
Yeah, it was absolutely massive, monumental moment. Some of the people I spoke to, there's even a few people that got emotional as to how far they've been involved in this industry. But it's great, obviously, to see that we're starting to get our voice heard in Washington. But with this and this announcement, what do you think this does for the industry, John, and more specifically for MariMed?
Well, I mean, first of all, 280E, which has been a protest that we've been out there doing for well over a year, but our 280E Tea Party last year in the Boston Harbor was just an example of how this was an unfair tax that was a burden on the industry and caused a lot of the companies to struggle with cash flow. It kept banks from entering into this market.
Yeah.
And I think that this is going to be exciting not to have to deal with 280E adjustments and be able to file real taxes and take the benefits when you're growing as we are right now, and take the benefit of being able to write off real expenses and pay only taxes on what's necessary.
Yeah.
I also find that the overall change to the rescheduling will help us also be able to see people do more research and development of products that will help us be able to hire and expand the brands into a bigger market.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a great thing to be able to get doctors and hospitals to do real research on all of the effects and benefits.
Yeah, I know we had an interview a couple weeks ago with Congresswoman out of South Carolina, Nancy Mace, and she was saying that a lot of people's perceptions on cannabis that they're against does not align with the actual true data, and medical being one of them as to where we are today. So I guess the big thing for you, and I think a lot of viewers may or may not know this, but your company, MariMed, you have your finger to the pulse in Washington, D.C., more than probably one of the most well-known companies that's connected to Washington as far as, like I said, keeping your pulse to the ground and understanding what's going on compared to other companies in the space. Saying that, do you think rescheduling does get announced and the official ruling comes down before the election?
Rescheduling is already in the process. It's already with the Department of Management and Budgets to get their approval to bring it to public opinion, which will take time after that so people can make comments on it. But I do see this moving forward.
Yeah. But as far as the election, it's tough to predict that, right? But I do know, I get it.
It's very difficult to say that it would be done with the public opinion prior to the election, but I think we're going to be pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't want to say 3:00 on October 23rd. Right. All right. Let's turn your attention. Let's focus on the company latest earnings. So huge momentum in your sales heading into your earnings announcement from earlier this week. So how would you categorize to your investors the quarter that you just announced?
Well, I'm very excited. You know, we had a 10% increase, and that is ahead of a lot of our peers. We're outpacing the industry, And even with our retail, we've seen an increase in Massachusetts and Maryland, a decrease in Illinois, but still beating our peers in terms of a less of a decrease than they're seeing. And I think that that's attributed to our great sales staff and making sure that our help in the store is be able there to make the patients want to come in, or the customers, and want them to buy from us versus others.
Yeah. Well, one of those people that are with your team is the Chief Revenue Officer, Ryan Crandall. Good to see you. How are things?
Great, Tad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. And John was just saying, like, you continue to beat, your peers in the markets that you're in. And, based on what he just outlined in the earnings report, like one of the key successes I said off the top was your wholesale numbers, which were huge. So, break it down for us. What do you think was the, true beneficiary factor when it came to the overall growth of wholesale?
Yeah, I mean, appreciate the question. Wholesale's booming. It's Illinois just got started the end of last year. Maryland adult use got hopping mid last year, and Massachusetts has been up and running a while. But we're seeing growth across all three. It's really about our products and our brands,
Yeah.
and people certainly. But our products and our brands get tested every day. Versus everything they compete with on shelf, and they're tried and true at this point. And
Yep.
we really are doing a great job of keeping our existing footprint and growing that, right? So innovating, not just accepting the space that we have on the shelf today, but continuing to expand in those places where we have success. And so Betty's continues to gain more SKUs on shelves. Bubby's Baked continues to gain more SKUs. Nature's Heritage continues to grow in-house. All of our brands are really taking, kind of putting their flag in the ground across all of these very, very important states for us.
Are
So it's
you are,
excellent.
are you happy so far with how Betty's is performing wholesale wise in Illinois, knowing it re-entered back earlier this year?
Yes. I would say, we have a lot of growth ahead of us in that state, both on the 10 milligram front as well as, higher dose products. And that's true for Betty's, but also the other brands as well. So, I mean, I'm very excited about the growth of Betty so far. I'm excited about the growth to come. I mean,
Yep.
I'm almost equally excited right now about the way Vibations is starting to sell this month in the state, and some of the feedback we're getting in Mass and Maryland as well. So I think Vibations is going to be a big one for us that people can get pretty excited about, both in low dose formats as well as high dose formats. So,
Yeah.
Pretty cool product set.
It's the maturity of an industry. I think that is the next big wave, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, I think there's a lot of products in each one of these categories. Ultimately, over time, the winners win, and everybody else falls to the wayside. And our brands have done a really good job of staying at the top end of that.
Yeah. When we look at retail, you grew in Massachusetts and Maryland. So can you provide maybe some color on each of those states?
Sure. So, Maryland continues to grow with adult use, and we're working on some additional storefronts there that'll continue to add to the Maryland portfolio. And then Massachusetts, Beverly continues to grow as a rec store. Quincy, our med only store, continues to grow, and we'll be going adult use here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
So. Exciting opportunities for growth in the near term, as well as the growth that we've had over the short time here.
Okay. With regards to Illinois, it's a kind of a broad question, but what can you give us an update on that state?
In terms of Illinois, so in Illinois, we got wholesale launched in January. We're continuing to really grow it month over month, and Vibations just launched this month, which is exciting. We'll have Nature's Heritage flower out to the market by later this year. And right now we're shipping to 135 stores on the wholesale front. So that's all exciting. We've got a fifth store that we opened in Casey, Illinois, which is 45 miles west of Indianapolis. Really the first dispensary you're going to see when you come west from Indianapolis. We're really excited about how that store has opened and started to gain traction and momentum. We're very excited.
So you guys scoreboard watching in the playoffs here, hoping the Pacers make somewhat of a series against the Knicks? Get that audience there or what?
A little bit.
Just a little.
Well, here we are. What is it, May now? And it went live in Maryland almost a year ago. But what a market that has been in the first year. And Ryan, I'll go back to you. But, if you had to basically put it into your own words on the first year and how it's performed in your company specifically in that state, what comes to mind when you think of the state of Maryland?
Well, I mean, I think about my team, right? And I think about, I really do. I mean, I think we got a stellar team. We got a stellar group of people from the operations front. I think we've got some great product folks in our labs and on our cultivation side. And I don't say any of that lightly, because none of our success happens if we don't grow great flower and we don't produce great products. And then if you don't have a great sales team, you're not going to get them to market. So, I take for granted sometimes the great products and brands that we have, and we focus a lot of our time on, do we have the right teams? Are we going to market the right way? Are we doing what we think is sustainable from a sales perspective?
Yep.
We're not chasing numbers 1 month versus the next. We want to build sustainable business in our wholesale markets. And that means repeatable, consistent business that's, doing right by our customers over the long term. So, we're very, very focused on building long-lasting wholesale relationships.
Yeah. As we start to learn more about each company's story, like John, again, it's like you're in retail. Wholesale has been incredible. Like, Ryan said, as far as the quality of brands. So like, what do you think is the vision, in the back half of 2024 and moving forward here and, for the remainder of the year? Like, what is the message you want to communicate to your investors?
Well, I mean, 2024, we're still in a growth state. We still have a lot of room to finish our growth that we started in 2023.
Yep.
We're going to see the increases in revenue as we get these locations up and running. As Ryan said, we have a second store coming on in Maryland sometime later this year that, we just bought it and closed on it, but unfortunately the regulatory constraints to get them open doesn't just snap your fingers and you're open. So we're hopeful to get that open sooner than later. But when we're open, that will add to our revenue. We're still capturing more revenue in Maryland on the retail store in Annapolis. We have more room to grow there as people get to know where we're located and they understand that we have great customer service, great brand selection, that we're able to capture more customers. But then add in the excitement. In Massachusetts, we're expanding with Quincy into the adult use. You've got Missouri coming online sometime later this year. In Illinois, as Ryan said, the wholesale part, we're not even 30 to 40% fully running in that cultivation and processing center. We have a lot of growth still to come, more products. We just got vibations out there. We have more SKUs of Betty's to bring. We have more products such as tabs that are going to be out there, but Bubbies and Betty's have been really, really doing well. Our in-house vapes have really surprisingly done well. And we're going to see more growth in all those states as we become more vertically integrated in every state.
What do you hear, I guess, Ryan, when it comes to like your brands, like John just outlined, but why they like them so much? I've tried Betty's last year when I was with you guys in Boston. As a lot of people, as I've said before in previous podcasts that focus on gummies, you guys, focused on saltwater taffy, which you don't really see in the overall industry, and it's something different, but it's incredible. I'm not telling anybody out there to go out and basically promote them to go out and try product, but at the end of the day, what do you think is the general response that you hear time and time again from your customers in key markets that will, ultimately generate revenue growth as to what John's outlining?
I can sum it up in one word. It's trust. They trust our salespeople, they trust our products, and they trust our brands. And the trust is multifaceted, right? They trust that you're going to charge them the right price and build them properly and deliver it right, and it's compliant and all those basics. But the trust is that when you sell something to someone, they're going to be able to resell it and make a profit.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's the business they're in. So if you can show people that they're able to consistently do that with your products and brands over time and have a good business working relationship, that's the key to success on the wholesale side. 100%. And that's what we're very focused on.
Yeah, easier said than done, but I think the industry, as it matures more and more, and I think the number one thing we hear time and time again is consistency, and that's for any industry to really grow. But, if you provide consistency and the product's good, then that's how you scale, right?
Yeah, create trust with your customers. They'll buy from you again.
Yeah, 100%. Well, here we are in May. We've still got another 7 months to go. And as I said to you, John, before, just as far as what we look forward to in the back end of 2024. But I wanted to ask you a question. I've been asking this to a few CEOs, especially pertaining to last week's news. Do you think in a couple years from now that we look back at 2024 and we believe this is the year of the turning point for the industry on so many different levels?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a historic event of just seeing this be taken by the DEA for rescheduling. That's just the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that I think that the government now will start to look at and discuss in getting rid of any scheduling of cannabis in the future. This is the start. We will
Yeah.
look back at this as a historic date.
Yeah, well, that's good. Last thing I wanted to ask, and I know this is another putting you on the spot type question, but safe banking, I know that would do wonders. Can you imagine if we got rescheduling and safe banking happened before the election? That would be incredible. But what's your thoughts on it? Do you follow it much? Again, I know that you guys have your ear to the ground when it comes to Washington, D.C., but we were there a couple of weeks ago, and there was a couple politicians that believe that it won't happen before the election. But it is actually a bill that could be included into the stablecoin bill, which could happen, later this spring and into the summer. But your thoughts on safe banking, and are you paying much attention to it?
Based upon the history of safe banking, I am not surprised that it's still being discussed.
Yeah.
I'm more happy with the rescheduling. I think that's a big start.
Yeah.
Once that's done, I think it will help get safe banking through a lot easier. I think it's the start, and I don't think safe banking will happen before the DEA finishes their open hearings and get this finalized of the rescheduling to 3.
So keep your head down and keep doing what you're doing consistently, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I will say when we were in Washington, the biggest eye opener for me was just the idea. It's just they're uninformed, a lot of these politicians. One doesn't understand the difference between safe and rescheduling, but I think rescheduling would obviously open up a lot of doors and probably put pressure in some ways towards safe, but incremental steps for the industry, right?
All
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And I think we try to figure everything out all at once, and that's what stalls the industry. But listen, I know you guys are busy. I appreciate you checking in, and most importantly, congrats on the latest earnings. And any questions, any comments below, leave it below. Let us know if you want to ask any questions to John or Ryan. Let us know what they are. We'll reach out to them and get feedback for you. In the meantime, gents, enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you joining me here on a Friday morning on Traded Black Podcast. And most importantly, let's keep in touch.
Thanks, guys. It's been great to see you again.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks again for watching. So who's up next? Who should we interview next? Let us know. Give us your feedback. We're almost here. Could we see big legislation? If it is, man, we get our day in the sun. As usual, smash that like button. Leave lots of comments, because the more comments that we have, the greater the chance that this video has to go viral. And we want this topic of conversation to hit Washington. As usual, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we wouldn't be here without you. Thanks again, everyone.